Today in crypto. The Financial Action Task Force, FATF, has an update on their virtual assets, and virtual asset service provides guidance with a special focus on the DeFi sector, a market gaining more attention from regulators and government agencies around the world. The FATF proposal could usher a new crackdown on crypto and related companies. Related reading. On the FATF recommendations, he claims the institution envisions a world where decentralized systems are at best suppressed. Per their design, decentralized finances protocols allow users to directly interact with a platform, product, or service. This is why many regulators have expressed concern. As White House said, DeFi is a direct competitor to banks and custodial financial intermediaries. In fact, the sector eliminates the need for any of them and gives more power to the user. Related reading. Ethereum DeFi protocol Cream Finance succumbs to $130 million flash loan hack. Banks and other intermediaries are the entities required to enforce the FATF and their own country's regulations. White House said. In that sense, White House claims the international body wants to curtail the deployment of permissionless systems used by many DeFi protocols. In addition, the guides propose the extension of the regulatory perimeter of financial intermediation. The bigger issue seems to revolve around the definition of an entity as a virtual asset service provider, VASP. A key point in the past U.S. infrastructure bill fought by crypto lobbyists, which seeks to require crypto-based companies to provide more information to the government on their users. The FATF takes a similar road. However, the international body goes one step further in an attempt to increase the requirements that DeFi developers will need to meet in order to launch a protocol or platform. White House said, undoubtedly, this is another demonstration of an institution trying to gain more control over the crypto industry and the sector with the capacity to replace banks and financial intermediaries, both key components in the modern financial system. White House claims that the FATF recommendations are far from a tech-neutral approach and could go against the U.S. Constitution's. Related reading. Ethereum dominates DeFi space as TVL surpasses $200 billion. In addition to the above, the guidance would point as VASPs DeFi to any entity with some measure of control or sufficient influence over a protocol. Without providing a clear definition of the referred concepts, as White House said, they are open to any interpretation and could endanger the sector as a whole and even target communities with sufficient influence over a protocol. White House said, fortunately, the FATF recommendations are often ignored by its member countries. Legal expert Jake Chervinsky said via Twitter, the U.S. seems to be especially inclined to disregard them, which could ultimately be beneficial for the crypto industry. The military genre was always popular in the gaming industry, most probably because it features well-liked video gaming mechanics in one, shooting as well as vehicles/aircraft operating. Also, the psychological aspect plays a big role in their popularity too. For instance, players get to try virtually what they cannot do in real life. Evolution of tanks in video games. Tanks as gaming characters figured in the video game industry almost from the very beginning. For example, one of the first appearances was tank mode in combat for Atari 2600 as well as in its clones. Yes, developers didn't bother to come up with sophisticated names for games at that time. Usually, the point of the game was to eliminate the opponent's tank faster than they destroy yours. At that time, the maximum computing power of consoles allowed for only 2 tanks on the screen. Not to mention that the graphics were oversimplistic. Later, the concept was taken over by Brick Game. Usually, different variations of this retro handheld console featured Tetris, Arkanoid, Space Invaders, and of course tanks. The third generation of gaming consoles scaled up tank games. Namco was the main frontiersman of 8-bit tank games. Their Battle City on Famicom introduced advanced graphics, constructor mode, protecting one's own command base, and more tanks on the screen. The game was based on arcade game Tank Battalion. Unfortunately, Battle City didn't leave Japan. The already mentioned Japanese video gaming developer and publisher Namco, which later became the well-known Bandai Namco, continued the Tank series. The next 2D military vehicle game became Tank Force. It took the best from its predecessor and scaled it up to the possible best in terms of mechanics, gameplay variety, and graphics. The game was even released on cocktail table arcade machines. The fifth generation of gaming consoles shifted the focus from 2D to 3D games. Now 2D indie projects are booming, but at the time, they were considered outdated. The only successful one was Castlevania Symphony of the Night. However, it was an exception to the rule. On the other hand, Tokyo Wars was no exception. Arcade tank games moved into 3 dimensions as well. The innovation of this milestone was the arcade cabinet with a seat and steering wheel. Although real tanks are operated with turning levers, the cabinet provided more realism than ever possible at that time. Of course, PlayStation 1 had a lot of Panzer games, but they all were similar to Tokyo Wars in their concepts. In the 2000s, video gaming trends shifted into maximum realism. Moreover, the first-person shooter genre was given a new lease on life with such World War II military games as Call of Duty, Battlefield, Medal of Honor, Brother in Arms, and so on. Hence, tanks as gaming vehicles appeared there quite often. At the end of the decade, the initiative was taken by Tank that returned the genre back to a more entertaining and bizarre-looking direction. This was done by Namco again in 2009. The arcade machine was with seats and supported multiplayer as usual. World of Tanks games featuring tanks as gaming characters have come a long way. However, one common feature of those games was multiplayer. From Atari 2600, through Famicom, until the arcade era, games required at least 2 players in order to have a full-fledged experience. Although World of Tanks set in place the realistic visuals, the game scaled up the multiplayer features. Finally, tanks switched from the FPS to MMO genre, which means that up to 30 players can fight on one map. Being a massive multiplayer online game suited the military setting perfectly, hence World of Tanks gained huge popularity. Now, it's in the top 20 of the most played games with approximately 170k players daily. Realistic military games caught a second wind on the waves of massive online free-to-play games including World of Warships, War Thunder, and World of Warplanes. However, the tanks disseminated most widely. A step into blockchain and NFT technologies seem like the next step in tank game evolution. Tanks on blockchain, spider tanks, crypto tanks. Tanks. For playing. If you wondered why I dedicated half of this article to tank military games, you'll be surprised to spot how the history runs in circles here. Such gaming projects but on a blockchain tend to get inspiration from things that have already been invented. Crypto tanks. This game is the ideological successor of the original Battle City and Tank Battalion from Famicom and arcade machines, with an 8-bit visual style. In the recently released promo trailer, the developers even used a remix version of the original soundtrack from Battle City in order to stress the game's origins. Every tank is an NFT, which means you literally own the vehicle. And even if the game stops existing, tanks will stay in your wallet. So far, there are 20 available pixelated machines inspired from real prototypes from such countries as Germany, Poland, Russia, and China. Tanks' unique characteristics include chassis, guns, and armor. Spider tanks. This game is a part of the raucous Gaelic Games ecosystem. The genre of spider tanks is PvP brawler, also known as beat 'em up. Usually, brawler games are fights with one character hurling back hordes of enemies, like Double Dragon, Final Fight, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the arcade machines. If you think about it critically, Battle City is a brawler as well. However, the usage of tank long-range artillery shifted gameplay mechanics from pure action into action strategy. Spider tanks was also inspired by the 8-bit tanks, but scaled up the visuals and gameplay variety. Thus, it's the much advanced version of the previous blockchain game. In the same way, all tank parts are NFTs. Players can purchase separately upper and lower parts of the vehicles, cannons, artillery, etc. There are even chicken and scorpion tanks available for special kinds of game modes. In general, their selection is typical for MMO games, PvP, deathmatch, capture the flag. On the other hand, the mode called Capture the Chicken definitely brings something new. The game is available in beta. The final release date is scheduled for the fourth quarter of 2021. Thanks for playing. Such an interesting wordplay is used for the full-fledged strategy game in the military tank setting. Unfortunately, this project is one we know the least about among all the others mentioned today. Considering the concept, tanks for playing is similar to well-known Nintendo's Advance Wars, which is a military turn-based strategy with similar visuals. So far, the gameplay has not been revealed. All we know is that the game will be a turn-based strategy as well, with active multiplayer and cooperation. The launch of beta is announced for December 2021. On the flip side, the development of AAA level games on a blockchain is still risky, as the technology is relatively new and unaccepted by the majority of traditional gamers. AAA blockchain games are rare cases. Blockchain gaming is a relatively young industry. Of course, development has advanced and is no longer in the embryonic stages of its evolution. However, as the technology is new and not widely accepted, developers of such games tend to keep away from complicated games. That's why most gaming projects on the blockchain look like mobile games or pixel art indies. The playable AAA game on a blockchain is Blanco's Block Party. The other ones like Illuvium or Stormlight are still in development, so it's too early to draw any conclusions about their quality. Why does it happen though? First of all, small developers cannot sponsor AAA games on their own. The average cost of a top-notch game is between $60 million and $80 million. Secondly, as the industry is quite young, big investors are yet to go all in. Blockchain games are still projects based on enthusiasm and great confidence in the technology. That's why World of Tanks on a blockchain with crypto probably won't happen soon. Why you should care? On the other hand, the blockchain gaming industry is extremely promising. Axie Infinity and Gaelic Games are live examples that the success of crypto games is possible in the right place with the right product. Therefore, there are still a lot of unoccupied niches within the industry. An open-world military MMO game is one of them. Sooner or later, the game will be created either by Wargaming themselves or by any other studio. Email newsletter join to get the flip side of crypto. Upgrade your inbox and get our daily coin editors picks 1x a week delivered straight to your inbox. Contact Form 7. You can always unsubscribe with just one click. Continue reading on Daily Coin. Facebook Incorporated, Nasdaq FB, announced Thursday that it has changed its company name to Meta, marking the first major rebrand for the social media giant. The name change, which reflects the company's growing ambitions beyond social media, was unveiled by CEO Mark Zuckerberg at the Facebook Connect conference. An accompanying news release laid out the company's vision for creating a metaverse that connects online social experiences and the physical world. Continue reading on Cointelegraph. Facebook Incorporated, Nasdaq FB, announced Thursday that it has changed its company name to Meta, marking the first major rebrand for the social media giant. The name change, which reflects the company's growing ambitions beyond social media, was unveiled by CEO Mark Zuckerberg at the Facebook Connect conference. An accompanying news release laid out the company's vision for creating a metaverse that connects online social experiences and the physical world. Continue reading on Cointelegraph. Cryptocurrency exchanges Coinbase, Nasdaq Coin, and Crypto.com are now two of the most downloaded apps for the United States. Apple, Apple App Store, topping the charts at first and third place, respectively. According to the top charts list on the Apple App Store, Coinbase has regained its position as the most popular app in the United States ahead of TikTok. However, Crypto.com's app surged in the number of downloads on Thursday to jump ahead of both YouTube and Instagram, moving from the 5th to the 3rd position in a matter of hours. Robinhood's app, which previously held positions in the top 10, sits at number 48 under Walmart, NYSE, WMT. Continue reading on Cointelegraph. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.